sometimes I go back into prison. I speak to people doing long-term sentences, life sentences, or parole sentences. And the question that I always get asked with the young people I work with is always, how do they do it, or what is it like? And then the other question I get is, how do I start my life again? And so I say, one day at a time, like you do prison, one day at a time.
Yeah.
What was your kind of mantra?
For restarting once I got out?
No, for like for daily life in prison, for getting through the day, the weeks, the months.
I don't know. I just tell myself to keep going. The good days will always come. And I'd always say there's always somebody worse off as well in life, you know. Always. I mean, I was in prison, but I still had food. I still had the education there. I still had my health, you know. I still had good friends around me, you know. Even though there's bad people here and there, I had some good people around me. And I had the gym. But yet you've got people who are not in prison and could be in a far more terrible place. At least I had all these things which I could use. And another thing what I thought was, well, it's a long time, but it's not forever. But it's a long enough time for me to really educate myself, you know, and not have to worry about paying bills outside and doing all these factors. So actually there's a positive side to this. So I was always trying to change the perspective and how I was viewing it.
Were you still with your partner at the time?
No, we split up, I think after about 18 months after I was arrested. But that was basically, I mean, we loved each other, you know, we split up because we loved each other. And it was really sad because, you know, it wasn't because we was arguing when we fell out, because we fell back in love again, you know, after that incident. And, but I felt, you know, I cannot allow this woman to wait for me all this time. I mean, I'll never get out. So we just agreed to split and go our own ways. And we did. That's what we did, yeah.
So what was your primary focus during your sentence?
Freedom. Yeah, I just wanted to get out. Yeah, I wanted to get out, and I was going to get out one way or another.
And was that your driving force?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I wanted freedom. I wanted my life back.
How do you have that mindset from day one or from the start? Because
or did it change? Did it change throughout? Because you did mention that
it never changed at all.
It never changed.
It was like a burning desire to get out.
Right. So from the get-go, you just swallowed it, and then it didn't change throughout. That just stayed, and you just drove forward.
That determination was just like 100% all the way through.
It's crazy,
and
isn't it?
And it guided me in terms of, you know, there might be someone who's like, I don't know, someone I don't get on with, I don't like, or might be putting it on me, and I'm thinking, I don't like this guy, you know, and I could do something to him. You know, I could use violence, I could do all sorts of things. But then I say to myself, well, are you going to achieve that? You know, what's more important, your ego or getting out, you know, and seeing your family again and having all these things that you can have in the free world? Far more important, of course they are. So it's more thinking long-term rather than this short-term game, which I kind of have. You know, someone might look at me and go, oh, well, you're soft because you never dealt with this person, you know, but who cares? Who cares? That's their problem, not my problem. I'm out now. You know, I've achieved that goal. Where are those people now who couldn't resist using violence or responding in a negative way? They're still in prison, a lot of them. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that strategy went out. And where are those people now? It doesn't matter what they think about me. You know, I'm looking at them and thinking, you're the daft one, really. You know, and that's a difficult thing to do, especially when you've been brought up around violence, and you know, you're in a very male-dominated environment where we see people backing down as weakness. And when I say backing down, I don't mean I back down from fights. I mean, I just dealt with it in a different way. I use my communication skills and stuff like that.
No, and I commend you for that, because I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You've achieved what you've achieved. You're out now. You're back into the real world and you're living your life. You know what I'm saying? So more power to you, my brother.
Thank you.
But what was the hardest thing about a life sentence?
I think one of them, I mean, not being able to just choose to go where you want to go at any one time, you know, the pressure of being within this confines of these walls 24/7, it's horrible, isn't it? Other prisoners as well. The bureaucracy of a prison, the system, it's so slow, and, you know, it's just difficult to get anything you want. But also I missed being with my partner, you know, intimacy and stuff like that, all those sort of things, you know. But they're the things that, although I missed them, they drove me to want them back.
Okay.
I knew I could never get back with my partner, of course, but one day I could maybe meet someone nice and have a normal life, you know, the things that we take for granted. You know?
It's the simple things, isn't it?
It is the simple things, yeah. Just walking to the shop, walking down the house. I mean, I take it for granted again now because I'm like, you know, you just do, don't you? You just blend back into society. It all becomes normal again. But I don't forget that. You know, I'll remember something. Remember, yeah.
I love walking to the shops.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Still, even till now.
I love looking in the shops.
Yeah.
Especially at the
I
food.
do. Yeah.
So what were your plans for release? What were you kind of really wanting to do when you were out there?
Well, I just knew that if I could get to a place where I'm free, I have somewhere to live, and I have minimum amount of money in my pocket, that will do me, because I just knew that I can then use my knowledge, my determination to grow from there. I just need to get out.
Okay.
Even if I was on the street, I would have been okay, because I would have found a way. So shortly after I was sentenced, and this is probably a good tip for anybody, even though I had all that time left to serve, I was planning my release. I was drafting my release plan probably months after I was sentenced.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was plotting my way through my system. What do I need to do to get out? And I don't just need to get out, I need to sort this out as well, you know? What brought me to prison in the first place? So I had to deal with my psychology, the issues that brought me to prison. So I learned about those. So I didn't fall into the same mistake again. Educate myself so when I get out, I could communicate better with people. So although it seems like I'm just doing my sentence, I'm actually preparing for my release. So it started very early for me. And it was all done in blocks. Well, I thought, well, I'll do this amount of time in a Cat A, then I'll go to a Cat B and I'll learn this and I'll do these programs. Then Cat C. That's why when I came out, I hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Okay, we had Fishmongers all, and I guess that gave me a bit of a lift and a voice. No doubt about that. You know, I'm able to release a book as well. But even without that, I would have come out. So the moment I stepped out of prison, I was ready to do whatever, you know, to take on whichever opportunities came my way.
Wow, so you didn't actually have a plan of what you kind of wanted to...
Not specifically, no. I just knew I could probably do most things. I felt like I could because of the way I was going to prepare myself for that, yeah.
And at the time you were already doing, you were already working with Learning Together, weren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you continue that when you got out?
Well, so Learning Together, I met Learning Together in Warren Hill, Cat C, on the coast of Suffolk. I think it was about late 2016. And that was when I met Jack Merritt and the two co-founders, Amy Ludlow and Ruth Armstrong. That was just an element of luck. I went to this prison, and next thing you know, they was coming in and bringing students in from Cambridge. And I was there at the time, so I got on the first course. But it was a brilliant time because they was bringing in people from Cambridge, professors, you know, lawyers, judges, everyone to talk to us. It was just great, you know, because I've been learning so much anyway. And then to have these people come into our lives at the end, and especially Jack Merritt, you know, just a beautiful soul. So I got to know them, and through them, I was doing a lot of networking. So I got to know a guy called John Samuels, who was an ex-judge, who ended up drafting my application for parole and stuff like that. Okay. I got to know Andrea Coomber, KC on, who used to work for Justice. She came and spoke to me. We've got to know each other. I'm now working with her at the Howard League. So I was networking, and this is another thing, another really good tip is do the networking in prison. Start it there. Start building those relationships before you come out. And that's what I was doing. That's another reason why I was able to do a little bit more on leaving, because I'd strengthened those relationships prior to getting out.
So when you were released, what did you kind of get straight into?
Well, I was still at Oxford Brookes University at the time. My situation was very different because so I got my parole in, I think it was August. I was released on the 3rd of August 2021, I think it was. And there were some issues around my release because the probation services said that I'd been violent towards a terrorist. I needed to look at my motivations, my intentions. They said they wanted me to do a risk assessment around violence, a personality disorder formulation, and all these things put extra sort of barriers in front of me at the parole board. Thankfully, I had some really good lawyers and was able to overcome that, and the parole board agreed that none of that was necessary.
Who brought these up? Probation?
Probation.
Okay.
The Mapper board, Humberside Mapper board, yeah. And they also wanted to gag me. They wanted to stop me from speaking to the press, yeah. And it's all to do with the press release.
Did they put that in your license conditions?
They tried to.
Okay.
They tried to. And the parole board rejected it, of course, because there's no need for it. I'd released that press statement and they said to me, look, you know, you've upset your victims, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
But I said, well, as it happens, before I released that statement, I spoke to my probation officer and I said, will you inform the victim liaison officer that I'm going to release a statement so that they're aware of that and can avoid it? Mm-hmm. They'd not passed that information on. So it was them who messed up. Okay. We made that clear at the parole board. Okay. So the parole board thought, well, you want to punish him because of a mistake that you made. Mm. So none of that happened and I was released. However, I was instead put on the National Security Division. I don't know if you know what that is.
I've heard little bits, but please tell us.
So the National Security Division is a unit within probation which was set up following the Fishmongers Hall terrorist attack and the Streatham terrorist attack. And basically, it was realised during the public inquest that there was a lack of resources to manage terrorist offenders in the community. So they set up this unit specifically for that reason.
So then why are you on it?
Well, exactly. So what they did was they broadened it a little bit to put people on there who, I don't know,
Pose a risk.
Some high-level criminals, types. And then I think they broadened it slightly again to bring in people who might have a public, high public perception or some public,
Interest
image, in the media. But mine was quite positive. It wasn't negative. So they said to me, look, you haven't done anything wrong. You're only medium risk, but we're going to put you on this unit. This unit which was created after an incident in which I had saved lives. Crazy. So I was on a National Security Division on release, which meant I had to go to a hostel for 6 months. Mm-hmm. Now, although it was medium risk, I had to stay there for 6 months. I mean, people were there high risk and they had to leave after a few weeks. I was still there.
Did you have a...
I had somewhere to go.
You had
I had somewhere to go, yeah. I could have gone somewhere. And this was in Oxford. But we got through it. It's just one of those things. I had to just stomach it because, I wanted my freedom, I wanted to get on with things, but also you got to be careful when you first come out. I didn't want to get into too much argument. So I made them aware that I didn't like it, but it wasn't the end of the world. Got through it, and after 6 months, I was taken off that unit, and then I was able to move to postgraduate accommodation at Oxford University, which is brilliant. Yeah, really smart place. So I moved into that, and I had my own place, so my own flat at a really cheap price as well, because they've knocked it down a little bit because
for the students.
Well, I think there was 5,000 places free at the time because of the COVID stuff.
Okay.
So I got it at knocked down price, and it was just once I got into there, everything just relaxed and changed again, and I was able to sort of start really finding my feet.
What was the perception from the public then of yourself? What did you get? What were the reactions?
I've never had anybody in the public walk up to me and say, I recognise you. I know you. Never, not once.
Is it?
Not once, never. No. And I thought maybe some people might do that. But when I speak to people in general and say who I am and where I've been, everyone's really, really positive, really positive. And we get this perception before we come out that the public are going to be, you get it from the papers that it's going to be really negative. But I've never found that. And people might say, well, it's because you save lives. But even without that knowledge, people are really great. I don't see that prejudice. And that's why I wonder whether this idea about public wanting tough on crime, people to be tougher on crime. I'm not sure whether it's as strong as what we think it is. I think people, with the right knowledge, want a fair, balanced system.
With the right knowledge.
Yeah, with the right, yeah. So, my experience was okay.
No, that's good. And like with the right perception, that's the word we use, isn't it?
Perception.
I think you are right. I think there is just on the whole, the look on it still isn't probably where we want it to be.
No.
But no, that's good that you were kind of able to move forward at your pace that you wanted to go, that you wanted to do. How did you find, kind of starting this new life that you had? What were the challenges in that?
Well, even though I was in a hostel in Oxford, I didn't stop. I mean, away from the hostel, I was making connections, doing things, meeting people.
Did you kind of sorry to cut you, did you have an idea at this point where you wanted to go?
No, I didn't actually. I didn't know what job I wanted to do.
Okay.
But it just so happens that Andrea Coomber she went for the job at the Howard League as CEO there. And when I was in prison, she said to me, look, I know lots about justice, but I don't really know a lot about prisons. Could you give me some information? So I wrote to her and gave her some information before she went for this job, and she got the job. I'm not saying she got the job because of me, but
get a little hand in it.
Yeah. But she got the job, and then a short while later she said, well, look, there's a job going here at the Howard League. It's not policy, it's fundraising. Would you like to go for it? You'll have to fight for it, because that's policy. You have to give everyone a fair crack at it. So I did, and thankfully I got the job after I think about 6 months of being out.
Okay.
But I didn't necessarily plan to start working for them. It just came out of the blue. And but I wanted to first of all finish my degree because I was still working on that. I was writing my book, still finishing that off. So there's all that to come. Mm-hmm. So I knew that there was lots of positive things potentially coming anyway. I knew there's lots of interviews going to be coming. So, and I didn't want to sort of overdo it with give myself too much work. But it just so happens I ended up taking that job and going for it and getting it.
I guess it takes a little while to find your feet anyway. So
It
it's
does.
kind of a perfect timing thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always good to spend maybe a couple of months anyway, maybe longer for other people, just getting used to freedom, because I think to go straight from prison into a job can be a bit much because you're not experiencing the freedom. Then some people can do it because they might be working in a Cat D, from a Cat D, and then it's slightly different then. But I would recommend someone just to take a little bit of time. You can go sign on, get a bit of money, find your feet. And then
I'm with you. I hear you.
And big up Andrew as well. I know her.
Of course,
and incredible lady.
She's
so must
she's
be
huge.
good to work with her as well.
Brilliant. She's an awesome boss. Yeah. She's really,
good.
really good. Yeah. She's a clever woman. She knows what she's doing.
How do you feel now in yourself?
Yeah, I feel okay. I mean, I must be affected somehow by a life sentence. I mean, surely he was set to prisoners when I was in there. It must affect us in some way. And I like my own space. When I've got a partner now and I get a bit claustrophobic, I feel that, and I feel like I'm a little bit unfair to her sometimes. And I think, is that normal? Is it normal to be claustrophobic in a relationship, or is it because I did a life sentence? I'm trying to work through whether or not that's one of the impacts of me, because I do like to spend time on my own. I like my own space.
Look, that's a common theme. We did an episode with a forensic psychologist, and called post-prison syndrome.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so like if you get
that's
the chance,
that's the term I'm going to use then when next time.
Post-prison syndrome. Yeah, no, check it out. That's serious. Like we talk about a few things. That's why I ask. That's why I ask.
So it's a genuine.
It's a genuine thing but everyone's experience is different.
Okay.
But there's some reoccurring themes. Yeah. Through it.
Okay, that's interesting.
So talk us a bit about what you're doing now then.
So now, as I've mentioned, I work for the Howard League as a fundraiser full time. And I get to do all sorts of great things with them because I went to Parliament the other day and went to watch something, and sometimes I go to Parliament to speak as well. I get to go to big city law firms. I went to a massive city law firm the other day just to do some data protection stuff. So I get to go and speak to a lot of really interesting people and promote my book as well.
Yeah, tell us about the book.
So the book now that's been released, it's allowed me to sort of talk about some of the challenges of the prison system and get that out more broadly. Of course, I touched on fishmonger as well, but it's not just about that. I talk about my index offence as well, but I talk about my own change and all those different factors and some of the stuff that goes on inside prisons. Prisoners will know about most stuff that I talk about in there, but the public don't. So I give them a unique insight from my own perspective. So with that, I've been on the BBC, ITV, podcasts just like this one, promoting the book and just talking about my life. So I've been really enjoying that because I've been meeting some great people, some quite famous people. And it's just it's great. I mean, it's just,
what's the book called?
Brilliant. It's called The Road to London Bridge by Steve Gallant. And I also, I'm also the co-founder of Own Merit CIC.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So Own Merit CIC is a social enterprise that provides housing and employment opportunities to prison leavers. And I run that jointly with Darren Frost, who was the chap from the Ministry of Justice, who was on London Bridge, who had the other Norwell Tusk. We've got together, we've become really good friends, and we've set up this enterprise in Northampton. So there's that going on as well as part of my life.
Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so that basically it's a house in Northampton. We've currently got 4 guys in there who are prison leavers who would otherwise be homeless on release. So we're looking for people who might be struggling in that area.
Which is a massive topic.
It's a massive topic because the lack of support, I think, on release is huge. And
housing as always.
Yeah, housing, And we know that so I think it's something like 50% of the people who find themselves in stable accommodation, out of all the people who find themselves in stable accommodation, they are 50% less likely to reoffend. So it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Given that we know these facts, it's crazy why the government are not putting more money into supporting people on release. That is an area that people really need to think about before they come out, because finding somewhere to live, private's expensive, they're not going to have your housing's tight. So really think about that and think about what you're going to do to try and get yourself somewhere to live and stabilize, because that's the number one. That's the number one thing.
100%. So big up yourself for that. I hope it continues to grow, and You support as many people as possible, man.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've got some challenges. I mean, sometimes we might get someone who's like, I don't know, having problems with drugs, and we're not really set up to deal with that. And we had some challenges the other night, but it's all learning.
Yeah,
definitely. You touched on it earlier, but just want to talk about it because you spoke a bit about your book. You said about you was doing level 1 entry level English.
Yeah,
and then so you've gone from that to writing a book. Like, how do you feel about that? How does that feel?
It's funny because in the book there's a little scene where I'm in that class, the entry level 1 class, and I said to the teacher, "Do you think I could write a book one day?" And she looks at me and she goes, "No." And she wasn't being rude or anything. She spent her whole life trying to educate prisoners, but that was entry level 1. It was right at the bottom, and I was serving a life sentence at the beginning of it. So it probably
the odds stacked against you.
The odds were stacked against me. So I'm glad that I was able to work so hard to get to a point where I could, be a published author and quite a successful one given the circumstances.
Maybe she's seen it.
Maybe
and she was like,
has.
why did I say that?
Yeah,
I'd send I'd send a copy in.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I don't. She might not work there because she was quite old at the time. But who knows? Who knows?
Well done. It's massive achievement.
Yeah,
great achievement.
Thanks.
So then, Steve, how do you feel about your journey and where you are now?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just been a massive journey, hasn't it? I still have to sort of sit back and take stock of it sometimes. Where I am now, I'm probably the best place that I think I could ever be because of my experience and where I've been. And I'm just glad that I can now take some of that experience and use it for good, use it to sort of teach other people and let other people see, if you take this path, you can go wrong. If you go this path, it can be better. So yeah, I'm just glad that I can use it for positive reasons now.
I like that.
So we love to shout out organisations on life after prison.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, Steve, is there any organisations that really helped you during your time in prison or on release?
Well, there was Learn Together, but Learn Together no longer exists.
Mm-hmm.
It was folded after the Fishmongers All terrorist attack and all that lot, which was a real shame because that was a brilliant organisation. There's the one that I work for, the Howard League for Penal Reform. It's doing some brilliant work. As we've mentioned, it's got a great CEO, Andrea Coomber Casey, on her, who's doing some amazing work. She's now doing a lot more with the adult male estate, which I think is really important. And she's always encouraging people, and I will always encourage people and prisoners to become a member of that and share your experiences so we can get those experiences, what are happening in prison, those voices, get that into public domain. And we're doing a lot of work around that. So if you get the opportunity, become a member and speak to us, write to us, and share your experiences so we can get that out into the public domain and to politicians and hopefully affect change. So the Howard League is a big one for me.
That's great. Yeah, thank you.
And there's your one.
And there is, of course, there's Own Merit CIC, which is a social enterprise, which is run in Northampton. I mean, if you've got any money in your pocket, you can always give us some. But I think it's more about just being aware of what we do there, and we would like to grow that and expand it in the future. And hopefully, if we can get it to different towns, then perhaps maybe it could help one of you guys who are listening right now out there somewhere in the prison system.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing those. We have a few more. So there's Shannon Trust. They're a national charity supporting people in the criminal justice system to learn to read and also to improve other basic skills. And another organisation is Read Easy. They help adults learn how to read.
And as ever, we always love to interact with you guys on our social media. And we ask you guys, how did prison help you discover something you're good at? And we're going to share a few of the responses that we've got. So big up yourself, Joseph. Joseph says, I found that writing lyrics about how I felt helped me to channel my emotions. So yeah, big up yourself, Joseph. And Andrew says that people would always ask me for my advice on things. And he found out he was good at that. So big up yourself, Andrew.
So also, Frank, you said looking on the bright side of life. Love that. And we also have one from Kirsty who said helping people I wouldn't normally associate with help me realise my purpose. Amazing, guys. Thank you so much. Keep them coming.
Keep them coming.
And yeah, thank you to everybody who sent in their response.
Yeah.
And Steve, what would you say to that question? How did prison help you discover something you're good at?
God, I realised actually I was good at a few things. I think prison, it gave me that time to think, reflect, and just try out things that I'd not tried before. And I think that's a really important thing to bear in mind in prison. You've got time on your hands, and you might be in a cell with somebody, and you can choose different things, but use that time as constructively as possible, because you may find that you start playing the guitar, or you start playing chess or something like that, or you may start reading a book and taking up a particular subject. Use that time to just to find something new about yourself, and you never know what can happen off that. That's what I did. But I put my hand into lots of different things. Like I say, I even joined the gospel choir at one point.
Okay.
I know.
All right.
Guitar, like I said, chess. I tried out new sports. I did a bit of Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I did. I just jumped into lots and lots of different things, and then thought, well, I like this, and I got stuck into it. Because, like I say, you got so much time in prison. Use it constructively, because you will lose that time in life anyway.
You never know when you're going to get time like that again.
You don't. Life's short. As far as we know, we only have one go. And even those times in prison, they're invaluable. So use them. You might be in a prison cell. Life might be crap, but actually use that time to better yourself. And that's what I did.
I hear that. And as ever, you can get in touch with us via our social media. Please do. We love to hear from you. We're on Instagram and Twitter, X, at After Prison Pod. And we're on TikTok at Life After Prison Pod.
Also you can email us at podcast@prison.radio. And if you're inside at the moment, just contact us via National Prison Radio the normal way. So a massive thank you to Steve for joining us today.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure. It's been great. Thank you so much. A massive thank you to you guys for listening. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, take care.